Hey, this is Tony with Let's Play with Brigands, and I just finished my playthrough of Police Quest 4, also known as Police Quest Open Season, and I thought I would share my thoughts in the form of a review. We never do reviews on this channel, but maybe you're about to find out why. But I just thought, you know what, I wanted to kind of talk about this game, and I guess, unfortunately, say some of the shortcomings I think that it had ultimately. So here we go, Police Quest 4 Open Season, my review. Now, I think the most glaring problem with Police Quest Open Season is its plot, which, in an adventure game, is probably not an area you want to skimp. Note that this is the first game in the series to not feature Lytton County's finest, Sonny Bonds, and it's the first game in the series to be helmed by controversial former chief of the LAPD, Daryl Gates. The nitty-gritty police procedure of the first three games was largely cut back in order to purportedly place a greater emphasis on the story, which you could have fooled me.
How about them Raiders?
Love that team, Detective.
Open Season begins off promisingly enough as LAPD homicide detective John Carey, the new guy, is investigating the murder of his old partner and friend, Bob Hickman.
Hickman? Bob Hickman?
The subsequent murders following a similar pattern have Carey on the trail of a serial killer. Now, this sounds intriguing in theory, but the more you play, the less weight your actions seem to carry. No pun intended. But as the mystery unravels, it feels less the product of any detective work that you've done, and more just the product of random chance. A prime example is how you finally discover the hideout of the killer in the end. How does Detective John Carey do it? Not through any kind of investigative police work, but by throwing a rope around what turns out to be the killer's dog and literally getting dragged there.
Yahoo!
A lot of things are also just poorly executed. In an instance where you do actually manage to follow a couple leads and catch up with a suspected killer, said suspected killer ends up easily drugging a stupidly willing John.
Please, have a cup of tea on the house?
The tea is refreshing, if not a little bitter.
Don't you feel better? I know I do.
Not too smart, big policeman.
Then, instead of torturing and killing John like all his other victims, the killer unaccountably wakes him up and just kicks him out, all without John having any kind of reaction other than just getting up and leaving.
Wake up! Wake up! You fell asleep. It's time to go now.
You have no sense that anything you do matters in the game. Sure, you get points for making notations in your notebook throughout the game.
Graffiti is often left behind by gangs.
But there is seemingly no incentive to ever do this unless you like that sound. Okay, I do kind of like that sound. But frequently filling out reports to hand off to Hal also feels superfluous, almost like it was only included in the game to meet some sort of realism quota, and a boring one at that.
Here you go, Hal.
Sure, Junior.
We trained for and took a firearms accuracy test, only to never fire our weapon for the rest of the game.
Hey there, partner. Out there was some pretty fancy firing. Your score's going to impress the brass. I'll be sending your results over to your lieutenant. You're making him proud at Parker Center there, cowboy.
Am I? Because it literally never came up again. This is in contrast to something that works, like in, say, Police Quest 2, where if you don't adjust your sights on your gun earlier on in the game, you won't be able to hit a live target when it counts later on. Fire. Boom. Fire. Boom. I was never able to do that because my gun was never properly sighted. That's awesome. Heck yeah, 2015, Tony. Keep those skies safe. On many occasions, the puzzles are frustrating and the solutions feel very shoehorned in. I don't mind a difficult puzzle as long as the solution feels satisfying, but that's not Police Quest 4. A good example that left me very frustrated was needing to have the aforementioned very easy to miss rope in your inventory before a dog will even appear on a certain screen where you lasso it. Speaking of easy to miss items, the SCI-2 backgrounds from earlier in the series were replaced by grainy scanned photos for Police Quest 4. Now, while I give them credit for trying something different, Most everything just looks like a blurry mess given the technology they had access to at the time. Case in point, even after I've beaten the game, I still have no idea what John Kerry, the main character, even looks like.
Hello there, handsome.
If you say so. While Open Season gets big points from me for being the first game in the series to feature voice acting, and you know how much I love my cheesy Sierra voice acting.
Well, you're right about that, you dead burn greenhorn. Darn shootin'.
It's pretty frustrating that you had to pick between subtitles or dialogue and couldn't have both. Of course, this opens the door to actually hearing quite a few cringeworthy, stereotype-laden lines from a bunch of stereotypical side characters. Like most of the games in the Police Quest series, it's full of cliches.
Hell, Sam, Bob and I went through the academy together. We shared a ride for 5 years. I'm that little girl's godfather. Sam, Bob was my best friend. Yeah, you could say we went back a long way.
But like something your racist grandfather utters over Thanksgiving dinner, you just sort of roll your eyes and move on. There was actually a fair bit of finger-pointing between Daryl Gates and Sierra's Tammy Dargan, a former segment producer on America's Most Wanted and the main writer and designer on Open Season, in response to the criticism which came in response to the dialogue upon the game's release.
Man, this be my hood. I be Raymond Jones III.
One more thing I should mention is that Open Season takes on familiar themes in the Police Quest series, but framed through a much more mature lens. For example, Sonny Bonds never had to deal with a serial killer who tortured and mutilated his victims Jeffrey Dahmer style, like in Open Season. Ultimately, it's hard to not feel like Open Season kind of just either ran out of time or money near the end of its development cycle.
Listen, we don't have to take this. In America, there are laws against what you're doing.
As the credits rolled, I couldn't help but think, in my playthrough, that I had a great time making fun of the game considering I was playing it live, in front of a fantastic audience by the way, but also just wondering what was the point of so many elements in the game.
Why did the psychiatrist's mechanic have a bad day?
I don't know.
Because he had a screw loose.
Basically, it just felt like it could have been done so much better and more tightly. Overall, fittingly, I give Police Quest 4 a 4 out of 10. It's easily the weakest of the first 4 police quests, but if you loved the preceding 3 games and never played 4, maybe check it out. Otherwise, I recommend playing one of the first 3 or a different detective-like game with a much better plot like something from the Gabriel Knight or Laura Bow series.
Garcia's body was found on the front lawn of a singer. What did they call those guys? Rappers? By the name of Yo Money.
Okay, this game's alright. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.